Thank you for tuning in to Cop with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen, and we're here with comic Andrea Romano. Andrea Romano, how the hell are you?
I'm doing amazing, Brian.
Oh, good. It's so good to hear because you're keeping us laughing through the quarantine online. You are the Andrea Romano because, of course, you are.
Yeah, the Andrea Romano. Although I have the same name as a woman who was like a casting or a voiceover director, like in the 90s.
Yeah,
and
you say on your Twitter, you go,
yeah.
definitely not the one who worked on Animaniacs or Batman.
No,
and I actually had to look that up because I knew about you, and I was like,
yeah.
I gotta find this other Andrea Romano.
Yeah, she's like famous amongst like like DC and Marvel nerdy dudes who send me messages saying, I just want to thank you for all your work. And I'm just like, I am not a 60-year-old woman.
But you're writing for Cracked and you do sketch and things like that. And how have you been keeping busy during the quarantine as far as comedy is concerned?
Well, I'm like a freelance writer, so it's like being freelance means you're just kind of like constantly looking for jobs. You're constantly looking for work and like ways to get paid for what you do. And I'm lucky enough that I do support myself on writing for most of it. I've done like one-off columns for Cracked, as you mentioned, and then like I'm a daily contributor for Travel and Leisure. And I've just kind of been lucky enough that I've been able to, like, I do support myself just doing writing. It's not always comedy, but yeah,
Wow.
I've been, it's been a little stressful because like working for Travel and Leisure, no one's traveling right now.
You got the leisure thing down pat, though.
Leisure is great. But like most of the time I'm writing stuff where it's just kind of like, yeah, hey, we're all stuck in our homes. Here's a virtual thing you can do. And it's just a shade depressing. But people really like that stuff where it's just like just looking for any kind of entertainment and escape is good.
Yeah, because they're even saying you can have access to museums like the Louvre or something, and they have a video tour that is almost as good as if you were there. I mean, it's just like high quality digital. It's taking you as if you're walking through the Louvre. It's doing close-ups on all the great artworks. I mean, have you done anything like that? Just coverage of, those kind of locations, those tourist locations that you can see remotely.
Oh, I absolutely have. Back in March, I did a post that just kind of blew up on Travel and Leisure. That was it was all the virtual tours you can do through Google Arts and Culture. And like that was like it's definitely my best article, but one of the best articles that performed.
You're probably the person who turned me on to this fucking phenomenon. I was like, what the hell? I can like see the view.
You probably didn't know it, but it was me.
The Venus de Milo. Yeah, so like doing all this thing takes so much hustle to kind of make sure you have all these irons in the fire so that like your writing actually pays for you to be both travel and leisure. But it is so funny because like your pinned tweet here, it talks about there are no hobbies, only side hustles. Here's my piece for little old lady, and I love that. You're one of these people who's kind of making comedy out of the fact that you can leverage anything into kind of a side hustle.
Absolutely. And honestly, I hate the side hustle culture. I hate the term side hustle.
Yeah.
Because most of the time people's side hustles are the things they actually want to do, but like they have very little means to do it.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, yeah, I want to be an artist for, my actual job, but I have to be a bank teller instead because I don't have like rich parents who will like give me a career boost and things like that. I just feel like the side hustle thing is like a way for making people feel okay that the fact that they aren't rich, and it's just kind of like it's mostly like people who are regular old folks who didn't like, they didn't like go to a private school, or they don't have like parents who are movie producers or stuff like that. Yeah. So it's like Yeah, I work. It's like, yeah, I work in data entry, but I also make films, and it's just kind of like, and we treat the films as if, oh, that's your hobby, that's your side hustle.
No,
You're
that's your love.
trying to make a few minor ducats that way. And it's just kind of like, no, 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 that's actually my passion is the
Yeah.
side hustle. It
And
shouldn't be
so,
on the side.
and I love that you're like you're trying to present it as something like they're not making money at it yet, but the way you presented it was they're not rich already at something else. I love that. Like if they were rich, their
Yeah, they would just
filmmaking
do
would
that.
not look like a side hustle. They'd look like they're a successful filmmaker.
Yeah, exactly.
Even Fred Armisen was talking about, there's all these specific little shops in Portland, like, one spoon, one saucer, like, that's the spoon and saucer store. And on the
Hmm.
Upper West Side, it's kind of the same thing. They have all these little boutiques. You're like, how the fuck do these things stay open? But I think it might be a tax shelter for a rich spouse. Like, meaning, if you're a rich
Maybe.
person, yeah, a rich person on Wall Street, and your spouse is like, I need something to do. He's like, well, let's set you up with the money losing business that you love. And if it doesn't
Hmm.
make money, it's fine because that will be kind of a loss so that we don't get taxed as much at the end of the year for my big time income.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Like I live in Greenpoint, so that's like I live like right between Greenpoint and Williamsburg, and there are just 1,000 cute little haberdasheries with little oddities and figurines and things in them. And I'm just kind of like, and nobody's ever in these stores. These stores are
Yeah.
adorable. They're adorable. I wish I could afford like $50 kitchen towels or whatever, but I can't. And so I mostly just go in and look at stuff, and that's pretty much most of their like business. I think it's just people who just want to be looky loos and look at all the pretty things that they have, but they don't buy anything because it's so overpriced.
Yeah, and I wouldn't
Um,
even walk in there because I'd worry that he'd come out with $50 towels. You're gonna have that salesperson who hasn't seen anybody all day come chat you up, and you almost feel sorry for them, even though they're the one with a fucking expensive ass store in
I know.
Williamsburg.
It's
It's
just
like, how
kind
the
of
fuck?
like, yeah, cut down on your overhead a little bit. Maybe I'll, but
They're like, yeah,
yeah,
I wouldn't. Yeah, I would not enjoy that. I would not like. They're like, I didn't want to start a profitable store in Jackson Heights, Queens, or something. I wanted a pretty store that somebody else was paying for. And one thing I liked about your topics, you had a lot of, I have the comic suggest topics because I like to pick the ones that I also am into. But one nice theme of yours, if I could kind of read, was
Mhm.
being healthy even though everything is trash. Freelancing, looking for jobs even though everything is trash. Being funny online even though everything is trash. I thought the trash thing is hilarious. Like, is there any like for me, I tend to think, and one of the reasons why I'm not doing stand up is because I'm not very interested in like looking at my life too carefully because it's almost painful to look at too close up. And like everything in society, it's like nothing is really new to me, maybe because I'm a little bit older, but like there's nothing really worth talking about that wouldn't annoy me too much to get on stage nightly to do it. So just
Mhm.
like, and even like that's why I don't really have passion for politics because I can see points. I'm a lawyer, so I could see both sides of every fucking issue. And
Mhm.
like, really, I'm not passionate about anything because everything has its fucking flaws. Like, yeah, tell me the Andrea Romano theory behind everything is trash because I love it.
Well, it's just kind of like I've always been kind of like uh I wouldn't say that I'm a pessimist. Like I do think I'm an optimist. It's more of like I feel there is this really funny guy who's like a YouTuber who used to work for BuzzFeed called Shane Madej, and he calls himself existentially grounded, and that's what I call myself. I'm like, yeah, you're right, Shane. But I don't know him personally, but uh, yeah, I kind of like see it's like yeah everything is trash. Like I think that's always been true. Like you could go back to the ancient Egyptians and there will be people who's like, oh, this place, it's like these Romans, these Greeks, it's just kind of like everything is trash.
Everybody builds these
But
fucking triangle buildings, these pyramids. Fuck them.
building all these buildings that we have to keep building, and this like statue buildings thing that looks like a lion but it has a human head.
It's like you're gonna
um
fool people with this lion building.
yeah.
Are they gonna think this is a lion?
Oh, people won't be talking about this thousands of years from now.
Who'd build this shit in the desert, man? I mean, build it in like, by the Nile or some shit. Why are we in a desert? Who's gonna come to the desert to see this line building?
Yeah, jeez. But like I feel like there's so much pain in the world, and I feel like people who are just like constantly happy and positive, like that's just ignoring the rest of the world, It's just kind of like I don't personally feel like living in a bubble. Um, so it's just like, and I feel like that like positivity culture where it's like just be happy, like that is toxic to me because it tamps down all those bad feelings. Like we're humans, we're allowed to feel bad feelings.
Oh yeah, because if you don't indulge them now, you're gonna fucking they're gonna come roaring back in a midlife crisis or something.
Yeah, and I've gone through years of therapy to realize this.
So listen to what she's saying. She's the Andrea Romano, damn it.
I'm basically a therapist.
I love it. I can get all my therapy secondhand through comedians.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
We're all always in treatment, so we know some things.
And I think that like for me, I'm never too negative and I'm never too positive. And one of the reasons why I don't get too negative about all the awful shit that's going on is because I'm relatively powerless. Like even
Mhm.
somebody's like, oh, like early on, somebody's like, oh, you're skeptical that there's a pandemic. And I'm like, no, like I'll do everything that I need to do,
Yeah,
but I'm also powerless to fucking stop it. Like me
yeah.
gnashing my teeth about how X, Y, and Z is happening. Like, no, I can only put on a mask and stay at home and not interact with people. I can't fix this fucking shit. So me not caring about it is not because it's not, worthy of my care. It's
Hmm.
because I have no power to do anything, even if I did, agonize over it all day long.
Yeah, you really only have power over yourself.
Yeah.
And I wish more people took that seriously. Like, I would love it if I could. Like, I personally don't harass people who are wearing their masks wrong
Right.
because I don't want to, like, get hit in the face. Um, it's like I never know what kind of anger level we're dealing with when it comes to strangers.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it does bother me because it's like I got sick in May,
Okay.
and I had all the symptoms, and the antibody test ended up being negative, but those are also very wrong, and
Okay.
my doctor told me so.
Okay.
But like the fact that, and like I've actually been sick more in the last like 5 months than I have in over a year.
Really?
I've just been getting all these viruses and all this like throat and upper respiratory stuff,
And is it
and
because
it's
your
all been
your immune system is compromised because you haven't been able to kind of be out and be active, or no?
possibly. I have
Yeah.
no idea. I just know that I have like had, just like a week or two ago, I had like a pretty angry virus that um, made my tonsils all bad and like all that stuff. I won't go into detail, but like I was just kind of reflecting on how it's like I haven't had like an angry virus like this in like since I was a teenager. Like
Wow.
been sick, like totally like can't get out of bed type of sick.
But I love
Um,
it because you said being healthy, even though everything is trash. Like, do we think like even if you had eaten better foods or something, it wouldn't work because foods are shit anyway now? Like,
Pretty
they
much.
breed, I guess it's not breed carrots, but I guess they breed carrots for what they look like rather than what they taste
Yeah,
like or what their nutrient level is.
true. And like there's that whole thing about how like bananas taste differently than they used to, and that's why artificial bananas like tastes fake to us because our bananas that we have now, like within the last 30 years or something, are different. um, but yeah, and like I personally don't really believe in like you have to, because like look, we're all mortal, and eating kale every day and all that stuff is depressing,
Yeah.
and it's really not going to stop um, what will eventually happen to all of us.
Yeah.
But so I try to be healthy, of course. Like you should always like be taking care of yourself, but I don't worry too much when it comes to uh, days where it's just kind of like, I am just going to have some fried chicken and
Yeah.
cry and like just deal with it, you know, because it's
Because the
like,
thing you think is going to kill you is not the thing that's going to kill you.
yeah,
You're going
exactly.
to, we are all going to die of something, and it's probably not the thing we expect.
Exactly. And I personally think that I don't see food as medicine or food as fuel.
Right.
Food is so much more than that. It's culture and it's history and it's flavor and it's all these other things.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Like I'm a food addict myself, and so to me, it's like the only thing that makes life worth living. But like I think I read an article recently where they were saying something like they finally did a study of people who fasted between, I don't know, 34 and 58 hours, and they're saying at hour 34, there's a surge of all these fucking things in your body, substances in your body that are good for you that nobody knew. Like, and they might
yeah.
be antioxidants. Like, so all of a sudden, all these anti-aging things kick in, and so you
Mhm.
don't have to consume these things to get it. Like food is medicine. It's almost you could just fucking not eat for 34 hours, and all these things would naturally surge in your body. But to
Sure.
me, it's just like although I could, although I've done that and I've had successful diets and successful fasts and things, it's just like that's not really life is not full enough of cool shit that's not trash, as Andrea Romano would
Yeah.
say. Like even online comedy, you said, one of your topics is being funny online, even though everything is trash.
Yeah.
Like very quickly, I only follow comedians pretty much. I only retweet former guests, and there's about 100, 170 of them by now. And
Mhm.
so if something happens, chances are I'm getting the funniest joke on that thing in about 5 minutes. Like meaning
Oh
like
yeah.
three or four different people are joking about the same thing, probably from different angles. But
Hmm.
but then it's like anybody who's coming with the 10th joke, I'm just like, no, I've seen that. So
Hmm.
at some point, that's trash. Meaning the 10th joke, that I've
Oh
already
yeah.
heard 3 minutes earlier is going to be trash compared to the first joke. And so yeah, explain the Andrew Romano everything is trash with respect to being funny online.
Uh, I mean, there's so much groupthink online that it's like
Yeah.
it's hard to come up with a really fresh angle as much as you might try. You just kind of have to make it your own. And honestly, I they say that the the recipe, the secret sauce for comedy is tragedy plus time. And so obviously I never want to be super duper mean. I never want to like punch down. And so like I have like certain rules when it comes to like making jokes where I don't want to make jokes about things where people died during
Okay.
them. I don't like to make fun of children unless it's kind of like, look at this silly kid who like was jumping on a trampoline and did a crazy thing. I don't know,
Right.
but like I don't like to make fun of children. I don't like to make fun of people who are like powerless in their situation,
Yeah.
and that's the definition of punching down. Um, so I mean, it's so hard. Like as I was saying before, it was just kind of like it's the world is is full of awful things, and sometimes, and especially recently, like especially within like the last 4 years, so to speak, it's been so hard to be funny and want to be funny
Yeah.
because it's just everything is trash, you know. It's like, and things just keep getting. It feels like things just can't get worse, and then they do.
And how do you come up? I mean, as a freelancer though, knowing that there's already people on staff at certain places who are made to immediately come up with the first and second takes on something, how as a freelancer do you pick what's actually going to get accepted? Like, are you like, okay, well, let's look at the third angle on this thing. Like, my first two thoughts on Trump were first that he's orange, number two, his hair is weird, the third
Mhm.
is blah, blah, blah. Like, do you find yourself like not submitting the first and second thing because you think they will have already been written on by the time you pitch?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a really great. I've had a couple of really great satire teachers, Jessica Matolo and Caitlin Kunkel, who I just did a workshop with. They are involved with the Belladonna, and they like both of them in there, and they're also involved in Second City. They both of them, their advice was when you're brainstorming, just write down whatever you have, but the first two ideas probably not the best idea, probably not the best angle, because other people have probably thought of it too.
Yeah.
And another great piece of advice is to just think about a story or a topic in relation to you and your specific experience. And that is usually what breeds a really good angle, because it's like you're you and you had your experience in life and you have your own identity. And like, how does this topic relate to you in terms of your own identity, I guess. And that's always really good advice, is to, they say brainstorm in abundance and then go, hone it down,
Yeah, like two different brains. One is the writing brain, one is the editing brain, and you shouldn't let the editing brain kind of interfere too soon in the process to fuck with your writing brain.
Right. And it's almost like the same like writing advice you get. Like this quote is attributed to Ernest Hemingway, but I don't think he actually said it. But write drunk, edit sober.
Write drunk, edit sober. I fucking love that. And then, I mean, do you find yourself like, so I guess, the first two thoughts are probably not that original because everybody will have that same thought, but you can also, attack the third and fourth idea, but you can also probably attack those first couple ideas either through the personal lens, like you say, or have you ever been like, let me now take the other side of the first couple ideas? Like knowing that everybody out there is going to be trafficking in ideas 1 and 2, let me get the counterpoint ready for ideas 1 and 2. Or is that just going to be totally off brand for something like politics? Like it's not like you're going to start writing the pro-Trump ideas 1 and 2.
Absolutely not. I can't even get on the other side of that issue. I can't even wrap my mind around it anymore. But like, I think it depends. I think in terms of politics, that would be really off-brand.
Yeah, but with other things, you could take the first couple ideas. With other things,
you could try to, and you could like satire, comedy writing and satire. It's a lot about like kind of bending certain topics around what you think and how to get your point across without it being. And so it's like, most satire, you should probably read it sarcastically. Like, it's like, you should never write something that feels too real. And so if you're writing like on the other side of some issue in a point that you disagree with, you have to make it very clear that you disagree with that point. And one way of doing that is just, escalating it to a ridiculous level.
Yeah.
And then,
I think in law school is the reductio ad absurdum, like taking it to its illogical ending or whatever.
Yes. And that's advice that's just been given to me. I'm definitely not an expert. I've been doing comedy a long time, but I never try to position myself where it's like, I know exactly what this is, but I have been observing and analyzing and dissecting comedy my entire career, which has been over 10 years now.
Yes.
I would hope.
So like, for a 10-year veteran, like, how can you take like an RNC convention coming up and adopt a Republican thing, but doing it in an absurd, just an absurd way, taking it to its illogical extreme. Like if you came off as a pro-Republican writer during the convention, what do you think you could, make it clear that you're being absurd, but be ostensibly a Republican?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think Jordan Klepper has done a really good job of like taking on that persona.
Okay.
When he was with The Daily Show and when he had his own show, he did take on that like super clean-cut Republican persona because that's how he looks, and he found a way to skewer that side of the argument while also like appearing to agree with it. And so if you really want a great example of that, I would definitely watch Jordan Klepper's show or watch some of his old clips from The Daily Show.
But like through writing, would you be like, oh, there's not enough QAnon in this Republican convention?
Yeah, I mean, like, I would definitely, it's like, we need more QAnon stuff. QAnon is like, Oh my God, that is such a beast.
Yeah.
There's so much to unpack about it.
Well, I love it.
But
Yeah, there's too much RNC in this thing. We should add a Q.
yeah, add a Q.
So Andrea
Yeah.
Romano, we're going to be checking out your content. Hopefully there'll be some RNC content, but regardless, we'll track it. The Andrea Romano across all social platforms and Andrea-Romano.com. Andrea Romano, thank you so much.
You're welcome.